Hi folks, my name is Chrissy, my business is Nimble Norfolk, and this is the lockstep method. So it's the same pattern as the 6-way weave we did in the first video, but it's a different way of achieving the same results. So if you haven't watched the first video, I'd recommend you go and do that now, unless you're already a proficient chair caner, in which case, here we go. So the lockstep method, instead of working in pairs, we do half of a pair before we go back. So this is just the first vertical going in. Same as before, black thread is step 1, first vertical. Immediately going into the first horizontal, this is a white thread and it lies straight on top of the black thread. There's no weaving at this point. We're just setting up the grid for the important bits. And now we're going to put in the first diagonal, and this is the step at which it locks the grid into place. Now you see where its common name came from. So because this red thread locks the grid into place, we need it to go underneath the first vertical and over the first horizontal. And this basically clamps the two steps together, locks them in place. Yeah, that's why it's called what it's called. It keeps the grid in place, which is important, particularly in vertical, what's the wrong word, in curved or, vertical pieces. So if you think a tub chair or the arm of a chair, and you can't easily lie it flat for whatever reason, to make sure that the grid doesn't drift through gravity, doing this step means that once you've laid out where you want your strands to go, where you want the pattern to fit, it won't move around while you're weaving the other steps. So once you've decided on your plan of action, it stays there. And yeah, I find it particularly helpful in, as I say, vertical pieces or curves, but I also use it quite often for complicated or irregular flat pieces like weirdly shaped chairs, just because it's easier for me to set up this grid with one strand going in every direction so I don't get lost with trying to maintain the pattern while I'm moving and deciding where my corners are. So this is the second vertical, and it's going straight on top of the first 3 steps. There's no weaving, there's no anything, just follows exactly where the black thread has been on top of the previous 3 steps. So this is much faster, as you can agree, rather than having to weave when we go in pairs like we did in the first video. So what we're going to do now is weave the second horizontal. So again, we've made all our decisions in our previous steps, now we just need to follow through with them. So the yellow follows where the white does in terms of the first diagonal, the red, so it needs to go under the red diagonals. And then when we come to our vertical pairs, we've got to bear in mind where the red diagonal snugs into the corner, and that will decide whether we go over or under the grey and the black, or whether it's above or below the white horizontal. So here, like we did in the first video, the yellow thread is to the top of the white thread, closer to the top of the frame, but the eagle-eyed among you may notice that the grey thread is now on the left, and it's just the way this has happened to shake out this time. So we're going under the black and over the grey, and again, if you can imagine it locking it into place, you're doing the opposite of the previous steps, making sure that everything is interwoven and interlinked, so it all relies on each other. And there we go. Nice and neat, getting ready to go. And at that stage, it should look like the end of stage 5 of the first video we did. And this is step 6, the last diagonal. So again, we need to make sure we're continuing the pattern. So because the blue will go under the yellow and white threads, it means it needs to go over that first one of the fish head of the red there. There we go. So now we're into the main frame. We are doing the opposite of what the red did. So we're going to go under the yellow and white horizontal and over the black and grey vertical. so it's snugging into the opposite corner like we did in the first video. And yeah, so I really like this method, as I say. I saw it on one of the Facebook groups I'm part of and immediately fell in love with it. And yeah, just give it a go. I'd recommend it to anyone who's done one or two of the 6-step method in the traditional way. So once you are really confident in how all the strands need to interact with each other, so you can spot where the pattern goes wrong, you can make a mistake. Yeah, this might be what you've been looking for to make your life less stressful. So coming to the end here, just doing the last few diagonals. There we go. So here it is in real time, the finished frame. I've tied off all the ends and made it nice and neat. And it should all look like the first video did. So you've got a pair of verticals, a pair of horizontals, diagonals going in opposite directions, sitting nicely into those corners of the grids like we spoke about. And here's the one from the first video, so you can see them side by side. There's not much difference, to say, apart from the black and the grey being the opposite side of the pairs, but I think I've fixed that just by turning the frame upside down. So yeah, in real life it would be cane, which is all one colour, so it won't matter as long as everything is woven properly and sits together. I will put the photos of them next to each other up on my blog and also on Instagram, so you can take a closer look if you need to. But yeah, there you go, 6-way weave, 2 different methods. Hope this video was useful. Any comments, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do for the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.